Hey everybody, and welcome to Mondoid, your one-stop shop for all things Project Zomboid. And this week, face camera week. What I'm going to be trying to do from now on, at least for Mondoids anyway, is to have a camera, kind of face camera. That way you have something to look at outside of the blog itself. For those of you who just listen to the Mondoid, then that's fine. Nothing will change. This will all be the same. But I figured trying to make it a little bit personal. Anyway, this week is actually a really kind of fun week, so without further ado, let's get over to it. I'm pointing at the screen. It could be that way for you. Let's go that way. Anyway, so the title of the blog this week is It's Been a Tough Week. To be honest with you, there's a lot to talk about here, and a lot of things I want to talk about personally for the game. And if the camera does focus and unfocus a bit, it's because of my microphone, and I'll make sure that's fixed next week. But they start off by saying, that they were kind of sorry that the update for Desura took about 1 or 2 weeks longer than they initially planned. And the reason for that is because Rezzed really tuckered them out, and there were a few bugs that really prevented them from putting it up there. We talked about that the past couple blogs. I'm not really going to dwell on that. But they apologized, which I don't think is really all that necessary. And they kind of just say, yay, it's out. So if you didn't know, the full new version of the game is out on Desura right now. That's the one I play. I stick with the Desura build. That way I'm playing what the most of the general public is playing when talking about the game. So that's out, and they actually have the new mode Last Stand, which is basically kind of like a Horde mode with Project Zomboid. We'll call it Horde mode Zomboid style because it's very difficult to survive very long. If you've seen my specialty video, which I'll try and link in the video description below, talking about Last Stand mode, then you'll know what I'm talking about, how it's actually very difficult. Again, very Zomboid in that feature, but they have a change list here that we can go over very quickly. They have multiple inventory selection fix, which is good. That was a bug where you couldn't really grab everything. Wait, this is Romaine has been beavering away. Okay, this is the upcoming version. This is stuff that they're fixing in the upcoming version. So the multiple inventory selection is fixed. There is a problem right now in the build where you can't really grab all the items all the time. You used to be able to drag and drop. That was kind of broken somewhat, so that's going to be fixed. Better color for background inventory, which is nice. When clicking in inventory while being in attack stance will cancel it. No more shooting. Okay, right. So that's another thing used to happen is when I was in attack stance and have my inventory open, if I was trying to click on things, I would either fire my gun or swing my weapon, and it would kind of get locked in that animation, or in that attack mode, so to speak. So that's going to get changed, which is nice. I'm glad to see that's fixed. Farming and camping streaming rewritten to avoid teleporting crops problems. So there's a problem when reloading some of your worlds. Some of you may have come across this. When you are reload a world that you have some farming and crops kind of built, the game will kind of teleport it around the map. There's a problem with loading the correct tiles in the right spot, in the proper spot. So that's going to get fixed. Hitting escape while dragging a ghost item, for example, placing a wooden wall, will cancel it and won't display the menu, which is nice. Added text between each wave for Last Stand. Oh, that's excellent too. That way you know you have time. Added reuse grid square event. That stuff. Added a hotkey for screenshotting. Now that's cool. Something a little simple that most games have, but good to see that Zomboid is going to be putting that in the game. Re-added the star texture near your equipped primary weapon to show the condition of the weapon, which is also extremely useful. And time to get wet under the rain increases, which is good because right now you get wet really quick. Realistically that makes sense, but for game mechanics wise, again, for a simulation game, you really need to, it's a fine balance between making something realistic and making something fun. And sometimes realism doesn't always mean fun. So let's go down to other things in progress. They're just talking about art-wise, they're working on the next part of the map. I'm really excited for it because the next map section is West Point, and with West Point, you're going to have a large section of the map that we can explore, and more things to potentially die at, things to loot, and more map sections is always good. There's really never a point in time where having a more in the map is bad. They're talking about how it's no outlying village. It's basically 2/3 the size of Muldrow itself, bigger if you include the surrounding farmland. So again, Andy Stone just talking about bringing in new parts of the map, stuff that we have expected and are expected of them, and letting us know that they're working on it. They're going to be moving to a more attentive housekeeping issues. They're talking about people who frequent the forums. They'll know about this. Basically a lot of smaller bugs. What I'm assuming that they're saying is that they're going to do better at smaller updates, trying to keep niggling little bugs kind of squashed when they appear. Next Monday, they have a big Indie Stone meeting with Will, meaning they're going to be talking a lot about the Kate and Baldspot story, working on the story itself, the world of Muldrow, the world of Project Zomboid, getting all that kind of worked out, and more progress towards the implementation of the tutorial and the story mode that a lot of us are excited about. And that's pretty much it. What I'm really excited to start hearing about, to be honest with you, is the metagame. The metagame is what is going to make Project Zomboid, and I'm sure a lot of you already know that. And we talked about it last week because they kind of mentioned it and brought it up a little bit. Project Zomboid is going to be killed or defined, and that's kind of scary to sound, but it really is. The Project Zomboid is going to be killed or defined by its metagame. If the metagame works as well as a lot of people are hoping it does, or at least even a fraction as well as I'm hoping it does personally, then the game will be a really, really fun game and should take off on Steam. If the metagame doesn't work, if there's something about it that's incredibly exploitable or broken, the game isn't going to do as well. And it's scary to say, but the metagame is going to make or break. The NPCs are going to make or break the Zomboid experience. Because, yeah, the game is fun now, and I'm going to talk about that momentarily. But the metagame is what people are excited for, and the metagame is what's preventing it from going on Steam. And I'm very curious to see if the Indie Stone is going to do the early access on Steam thing. I'd be surprised if they didn't go down that route eventually. I really feel like that could build up their fan base. And I think they've talked about it before and why they're not doing it right now. But I'd be really, really not upset, but disappointed if they didn't end up doing the early access. But again, the metagame, I'm really excited to start seeing developments on the metagame, what that's going to work like, how it's going to play, videos, details, because the metagame is going to make or break this game. And I really am excited to start seeing them talking more about it. Now, with the new build-up on Desura, I don't know if you've played it, but before it's funny how such small changes in a game can really change how you play. At least a game like this, where survival is the absolute pinnacle of what you're trying to do. And one of the things, or a lot of things they reintroduced, rain, getting wet, food rotting, etc., is those two things alone have completely changed how I play the game. Refrigerators work now. They're not just a storage unit anymore. They actually work, meaning they run on electricity. They keep things cold. You'll know it by the kind of blue aura around the food name. But what was before just me being able to stockpile food and kind of leave it and not worry about it rotting, and then if I end up getting caught kind of running away and just finding more food, now becomes a precious treasure trove. My perishables are now what I need to go through first and what I need to protect the most. Because if I end up stockpiling a lot of perishables because I can't find a lot of canned goods, that is my character's survival, those perishables. So if I decide to make X house my safe house, I now have to extremely, extremely worry about the safety of that safe house. And if I don't, if things are kind of whimsical and I don't worry about it, and say, a week and a half in game, 2 weeks goes by, and all of a sudden I'm overrun, I don't have the necessary weapons or protections to take care of, if I just wasn't doing a good job keeping the zombies away, we're going to end up seeing me running away, and now all perishables in the world are rotting. Rotting food, without electricity obviously keeping them cold, is basically... it's hard to kind of word it, but it basically makes the game so much more difficult, but so much more fun, because it creates priorities that weren't there before. Very similar to how the game played in Q version. More L. The L version was one of my favorite versions. Q made it a little too easy. But we're kind of back to that early LQ-ish area. The rain, on the other hand, introduces an interesting aspect, because it introduces the risk of getting soaking wet, which slows you. More importantly, introduces the risk of sickness. With medicine being nearly impossible to find in the game, rainy days see me playing, especially if you watch me playing, see me really contemplating what I'm going to end up doing, and I'm assuming it does the same for you. If I see it's raining out, maybe it's not a day for me to go loot. Maybe it's a day to organize my safe house and get things kind of where I want them, or maybe work on a construction project. Rainy days are not days I want to go far if I am going to go out, or maybe I get caught out. More importantly, I'm out scavenging, it starts to rain. Now I need to think, how far away am I from my home, 1, and 2, do I have time to go back, or do I find a third option, which is find a temporary sleeping spot, which incurs the risk of running into a horde or more zombies in the process and getting myself killed because of it. So what used to be just like, I'm going to go out, I'm going to loot, I'll be home, normal routine, you know, you kind of find this routine. Now I'm going out, I'm looting, it's raining, shit, what do I do? Do I go home? Do I risk going home? Or do I find a place to crash for the night? What will really, really, really make it even more difficult is when exhaustion actually works and I pass out from exhaustion. Then I have to think, what time is it? How tired is my character? It's pouring out. Can I get home in time? Now I have all these options to weigh. So as they bring in more and more options into the game that are originally supposed to be there, your gameplay is going to change more and more. And just changing two things, weather and food rot, completely change how you play the game. So with the metagame kind of on the horizon, it really begs the question, how much more difficult and how much more crazy is Project Zomboid going to get? The answer is very, very, very difficult and a lot more crazy. So, thank you guys so much for swinging by Mondoid. I believe I'll be doing a camera for it every week unless things just don't work. We'll see you next week if you're one of those weekly viewers. If you're not, I will see you later today, or I will see you tomorrow, depending on what you come by and visit. By the time this goes up on Tuesday, it was a Tuesday, so we should be seeing Rogue Legacy today as our second video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.